I don't like how I move so much when it's handheld.
I don't see all 200,000 of them. So I got to do the hardware for my wife's desk. Welcome back. My name is Nick. And I got to do the hardware for my wife's desk. And a lot of the feet, if you haven't seen the leg leveler feet video, I'll leave links for everything. I'll leave links to all the supplies. Basically, I had this zinc plated, hardware, and I needed it to be black. And some of it was threaded. It was 3/8 by 16 threads. And then I also had some like power head screws. I actually really like these screws, but like I said, links down below. But that's a zinc coating, electroplate zinc coating, not like a hot dip galvanization, but still galvanization. Citric acid is not all that bad. I got this little wooden scooper at a woodworking show not too long ago. Anyways, I want to make another one. Or make one like it, I should say. I just put it with a little bit of water. I would say this is maybe 2 tablespoons. If it doesn't start to react with your fasteners, just add a little bit more. Citric acid is, I mean, I'm not a molecular chemistry biologist, but I don't even know if that made sense. But, oh, safety glasses. Sorry, guys. But anyway, citric acid is actually fairly mild. It's found in like preserving, canning stuff. I think a lot of your like sports drinks, powders and stuff has it in there. It's like sour. But just taking my hardware and putting it in there, a little at a time. Oh, by the way, too, like I said, this is super mild. You can stick your hand in there. It's not, I mean, it'll find paper cuts for you real well. But it's not gonna, it's not like when you hear acid. So just so people are aware, it's not that bad. But you always do want to add acid to water, never add water to acid. In case it is a strong acid, you don't want that acid to react with a small amount of water and possibly, anyways. So anyways, I like stirring it, mixing it in a little jar. That way you can kind of zhuzh them up a little bit, break that surface tension if there is any. Another one that works real well is vinegar. If you just get like household, vinegar. But that with hardware takes, I would say, at least overnight, sometimes 2 days. And if you let it sit too long, like 3 days, you'll start eating into the metal and stuff. And so citric acid, you can find it at like health food stores. Again, I'll put a link, you can, online, whatever. But and like I said, I just like to stir it up, and then I'll just kind of let it sit. Normally, I'll crack the lid or I'll take the lid off. I don't think there's any pressures or anything, but better safe than sorry. So we're gonna let that sit for about a half hour. In fact, I put a couple of the extra screws in a beaker here. You can see sometimes they react a little bit different. This one went right away just because of the reaction. This other one took a little bit longer. You can see the bubbles coming off. That's the kind of reaction you're looking for. That's what you're trying to notice. Again, play around with the volumes. I would say you could probably do a maybe 4 to 1, 4 parts water to 1 part citric acid. Play around with that. Even after 2-3 minutes with this little jar, you can see you're definitely getting a reaction and bubbles. And so I just kind of like I said, move things around, and maybe we'll kind of let that sit and maybe do a little time lapse of that one in the beaker. All right, so my suspicions were correct. I just left it on there while they were starting to kind of do their thing. And then, yeah, there is a little bit of a gas, a little pressure, or, so just take the lid off. Like I said, you can do them in these little containers too. I find it easier to stir them up in the jar. All right, they've been in there about a half an hour, and they're not quite done, but I want to show you what they look like when they're not quite done. Well, that one's actually pretty close. Let's see if I can't pull out one that's a better example. This one. You can still, it's got a little circle of zinc, so that's a lot more obvious. You can completely see that it's that little section in the center, and then same thing here. So for stuff like that, just toss them back in. If the reaction is slowed up a little bit, just toss in a little bit more citric acid, just maybe another scoop or two. Kind of give them a working around, and maybe check them in about 10-15 minutes. Awesome. I gave it another, maybe 20 minutes. I keep my acid in another jar, of course. This is a gun bluing acid. And like I said, I'll leave links and everything. It'll just be hard with all that label on there to see what's going on. But that's your bare metal. Let me get a different kind of fastener too. I don't know if I'll be able to show. Are you zoomed in right to that level of right in there? See how quickly this changes. So look at place. Like I said, I'll leave links and everything down below, but it's just a gun bluing acid. You know, here, we'll do a little before and after. In fact, I'll just submerge that for a second. Because normally that's why I keep all this stuff in a jar, because I can just drop stuff in there, I don't have to worry about it, and dry that guy off a little bit. And there's your before and after bluing. And I'll just give that a little quick rinse and then a dry, and we'll get going on our other parts and pieces. I mean, it does a fantastic job. One thing worth noting, this is, you know, you don't always go through all this trouble. But when you're dealing with something like these threads, I don't want to add a coating to those threads. I don't want to add any thickness. And this essentially is almost like a black oxide, but it won't really add any thickness to it. But versus a paint, it will. Paint will chip off, it'll gum up in there. But then also some of your fasteners, like these guys, if you're going to be using that square drive a bunch and you go to throw a bunch of paint in there, sometimes you can't get the bit in there. So this is kind of a nice way to, you know, get it permanently black, but yet not add any thickness to the metal. And you can oil them when they're done. You can, here, if you want to zoom in, I'll get another one. All right, well, I'll finish up the rest of the hardware and we'll see where we're at. Ooh, that one I'll save for an Instagram. Follow me on Instagram. And you could have seen that sooner. And that was, what does sooner equal, Stacy? Mo better. These little wooden tweezers are coming in awfully handy. They work well for this.
Homemade.
Oh, homemade, of course. Now I can't see. Getting a weird refraction. I think that's it.
What's the residue in the beaker?
Just particles and some of the zinc that fell off that's oxided, and oof, she stink. The gun bluing acid is a fair bit stronger, so you want to do that kind of in a well-ventilated area. I'm actually going to run that through a coffee filter before I go throwing it back into my main guy here, but
She's smelly.
Yeah, that one's, like I said, definitely a little bit more stronger. You definitely want to have like some sort of eye protection. I mean, it's not super strong. It's not like if you get it on your skin, it's going to burn right through to, you know, China. But, well, I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on how much you have and how long you leave it on there. Just giving these guys a little rotate. And then you can rinse them off when you're done. All right, I didn't have a coffee filter because I just realized that we use kind of a brass reusable filter. And I just wanted to clean this up before putting her back. And I don't really have that fine of a finish filter, however. Ooh, I saved one for it. I remember, I'm like, I knew I wanted an Instagram one, because I knew I was going to let it go too long. But anyways, we'll see if this works, but that's what, I was just going to use a piece of paper towel. Why not? What's the worst that can happen? They turn you into a frog or take away your birthday? Ooh, I all of a sudden have to. There, that did a real decent job, actually. I'm going to kind of try and. So that got all any of the little parts pieces that kind of fell off. I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily call it mill scale, but yeah, that did a real decent job. Maintain it. This stuff can essentially go through the wash quite a few times. I just keep adding to it, but you know, all the fasteners over time, you know, you're getting all that soaked up. I just buy a new bottle of it, toss it in there. I mean, every so often once it gets low. It's pretty low right now. It's normally about halfway. But anyways, I just wanted to show that coffee filter thing. I'm like, hey, if this works out, maybe I'll share it. So it worked out real good. So, but anyway, so yeah, you can see it's a pretty impressive effect, and it's real easy. You're not sitting there grinding away coatings. Makes the hardware real nice and uniform. If it's not super uniform, you can always go back and do it again. But that way, you're not building up a coating and it's not coming off. I've done this with other stuff, and so you know, from the zinc plated to the bare metal, to the actual blackening, or, well, technically it's a gun bluing, but it looks kind of like a black oxide, or maybe that's exactly what it is, I don't know. But, alright, cool. Well, now I just got to get working on editing for this desk as a completed project, and hopefully I'll have that for you guys in no time, too. Like, hit the bell notifications, share the video, jump on 2 legs, and then spin around 4 times, I don't know. Have a good one, guys.